This video is dedicated to Mike82. Mike, thank you for your continued support. Yorion Sky Nomad versus Nethroi Apex of Death, Oloro Ageless Ascetic, and Kynaios and Tiro of Meletis. That's another slow one. Don't seem to be able to get into rocks in this deck for some reason, but I'm going to keep that anyway. Yeah, I'm just going to hope that we can land the Smothering Tithe and keep it in play for a decent amount of time. Oloro starting things off already with a Leyline of Sanctity. So this is most likely the Pillow Fort variant of Oloro. Then just a couple of tap lands starting things off. There's a Grim Monolith for us to play on turn 2. I was thinking of cycling the Irrigated Farmland on turn 2, but we might rely on that for some white mana. Yeah, maybe we go for Grim Monolith on turn 2, ready for a Smothering Tithe. No plays as we go around the table, so I think we ought to test Oloro for some counter magic here. If they counter the Grim Monolith, it's not the end of the world, we just get Smothering Tithe out a turn later. But it would be nice to land the Grim Monolith here. That came down pretty quickly, so that does suggest that our opponent does not have any counter magic in hand. Trade routes from Kynaios and Tiro, and Outlaw just playing a Reliquary Tower and passing the turn over to Drone, who is going for Vampiric Tutor. Haven't been over the players yet actually. Bugden is a patron of the channel playing the Kynaios and Tiro deck. Oloro being piloted by Outlaw, and then Drone of War, whose turn we've just gotten onto now, is playing one of the new Mutate commanders in Nethroi Apex of Death. And then they get down their Sylvan Library, which I imagine they went for a Vampiric Tutor onto. And we managed to get into another land, so we can have the Mystic Sanctuary come in untapped if we want to. So we'll just attempt our Smothering Tithe. That comes down, so we're looking alright on mana. Need to start drawing into non-land cards though. We'll hold up the Irrigated Farmland for a cycling. Kiora, Behemoth Beckoner. Yeah, there's plenty of lands matter stuff like Titania and Baloths. What is it called? Something Baloth. 6 mana and it gets 4/4 beasts into play. Auriok Champion, protection from black and red, might be relevant this game. Not against us though. And Sylvan Library does count as drawing cards as well, so I'm assuming that they are going to go for the Sylvan Library, and then we'll end up getting some Smothering Tithe triggers. But they pay for the first one at least. And then they decide not to draw with the Sylvan Library, surprisingly. So Smothering Tithe might have actually kept them off of Sylvan Library there, which I'm not against. Anyway, at the end of the turn we'll go for cycling on the Irrigated Farmland. And we'll clear that land off the top. Oh no, we do get into Trial of Knowledge. That's some nice card draw for us. And a Panharmonicon, that just triggers on creatures and artifacts. Yeah, I don't think we particularly care about anything with a Panharmonicon yet. Yeah, I think I'd rather have Trial of Knowledge, to be honest. So let's get down Reliquary Tower, and we will play the Trial of Knowledge. That draws us 3 and we discard 1. So in this case we just get rid of a snow-covered island, and we get to keep Teferi's Time Twist and yet another land. Then it's 5 mana from our opponent. Oh, when they get into Nissa Vital Force, I'm much more worried about that one. And there's hardly any creatures in play either. We can go Reflector Mage onto that thing, but by the time we bounce this thing, it's back round to their turn again, so we're kind of reliant on these 2 players to deal with the Planeswalkers. Yeah, we can get our commander down, but the problem with Nissa Vital Force, which I've been over a million times on the channel, is as soon as she comes down you need to deal with her immediately. Otherwise your opponent is going to have an emblem next turn. Nissa Vital Force is one of the best Planeswalkers in the format in my opinion. Skyshroud Claim from the Junk player. Another land for us, wow. So let's play that, and then we'll try our commander, and we'll see if we can draw into anything to get rid of Nissa. That will gain our opponent a life with the Auriok champion, and then we all lose 1 life from the Cliffhaven Vampire as well. So more of a drain style deck as opposed to Pillow Fort by the looks of it. So we flicker Grim Monolith to untap that, Trial of Knowledge to draw some cards. I don't think we need to worry about Smothering Tithe, although we'll try and force our opponents to... Yeah, we'll try and force our opponents to point removal at that if they've got it. I'm just thinking of Nature's Claim or something like that over here. Probably being too overly cautious though. So it's no haste, obviously. I'll put a stop on the draw step here, just so that they might not have a chance to get the emblem off. We might need the mana from the Smothering Tithe in order to cast removal. I can't remember what we've got exactly. We'll see what we draw into with this Trial of Knowledge. Cavalier of Dawn. Should have gone for Teferi's Time Twist onto this, apparently. We could have cast Cavalier of Dawn. Let's get rid of another island. Yeah, and there's no more flash in the format, unfortunately. So it looks as though our opponent's going to get an emblem with Nissa. You never know, they might be greedy and try and keep the Nissa in play. But doing the right thing and going immediately in for the emblem. 4 cards in hand, and I'm sure they're not going to struggle to keep themselves in cards. If they're ever desperate, they can always bounce one and replay it. Their card draw is going to keep us in mana with the Smothering Tithe at least. Yeah, its lands matter alright. Tatyova Benthic Druid coming down. Alright, surprisingly, Outlaw isn't taking in the flyer at the Kiora. Just deciding to stick at 4 mana and pass the turn. Don't know if they've drawn a card from Sylvan Library yet. They decide not to this time, sticking at 6 cards in hand. And then 4 mana takes them into... These are really difficult on Magic Online. They look quite good in paper, but on Modo they're a pain to read. So we do that instead. Whenever this creature mutates, each opponent loses X life and you gain X, where X is the number of times it's been mutated. Yeah, I don't particularly care about that. Nothing coming in from Drone after that, so we are going in for Panharmonicon and Cavalier of Dawn, I think. Definitely want to get rid of Tatyova. Getting into a Thassa would be nice as well. Let's see if we can land ourselves a Thassa. Apparently we can. So after that we'll go in for a land and go for Grim Monolith and a land for the Panharmonicon. Now, Panharmonicon isn't actually that scary with a Yorion in play, because it'll enter, flicker all the stuff out, and then the second ETB will trigger and we'll have nothing else to flicker. So our opponent went for double blue there, so apparently they might have something. We'll have 5 mana left over, 6 mana left over from the treasures if we go for Wall of Omens. Or we could just go for Reflector Mage instead and still have enough for the Cavalier. I'm trying to get the counter magic out of Oloro's hand, so let's go Reflector Mage. That enters, so why don't we... Yeah, I'm actually not going to pick on Oloro if they don't have the counter magic. We'll go for the Mutate creature. I want to destroy the Tatyova. Surely our opponents realise that it's Tatyova we'll be aiming ourselves at. So let's go for the most expensive creature they have to encourage them to replay that. And at this point we're not holding up Teferi's Time Twist, unfortunately. I wonder if we should just Teferi's Time Twist the Yorion, or just rely on Thassa to flicker the Reflector Mage and get rid of Tatyova that way for now, so that we can hold up Teferi's Time Twist. I think that might be a better idea now that I've played around the counter magic that we're apparently not going to see. Let's try and get some more cards back into our hand in that case. We'll draw a couple from Wall of Omens. And then an Hour of Revelation if we're desperate, which I don't think we are yet. I'm going to put an Exile on Yorion so that we can flicker it with Thassa. This is Exile, isn't it? Exile up to 1 other target creature you control, and then return it. And then we've got the Time Twist held up if we want it. Someone might point removal at this in response to the Thassa. So let's go in at Kiora. Then Thassa triggers at the end of the turn. We pointed at our Yorion and hope that no one has removal in hand. That comes back in successfully. Oh, actually, I'm forgetting about the whole end step thing again, aren't I? That's rough, yeah. Forgetting all about that. And it's actually going to affect this turn, potentially, isn't it? Our opponent will be able to get more life gain and more card draw from the Tatyova if they want it. Double triggers from Yorion showing themselves to be useless there. Yeah, we'll get rid of Tatyova, or at least bounce Tatyova at the end of the turn. Yeah, didn't get rid of Tatyova when we should have done, potentially. Like I said, I keep forgetting that this is at the end step and not flickering things in immediately. So apologies for the misplays there. There's a Piers Whim. I mean, we can just sacrifice a treasure here, can't we? I'm glad we have enough treasures for still holding up the time twist. It's a bunch of friends that have been chosen. So all three players here will get to search for any land they like. And we are a foe, of course, so we'll have to sacrifice one of our treasures. And then the land enters, and it's a couple of cards being drawn. I don't think they've made a land yet for the turn, so they might draw another couple of cards if they manage to draw into one. Yeah, so definitely should have bounced the Tatyova when I had the chance, or maybe even blown it up with the Cavalier of Dawn. But like I said, I was thinking it was going to come in at the end of the turn, but when I was doing all that flickering, we were already at the end of the turn. And they do get into, oh, that's bad, an Evolving Wilds, so they'll get 4 cards from an Evolving Wilds. More treasures for us, at least. And then holding back the Tatyova. And at the end of their turn, we get all of our stuff back in. So it's more cards being drawn. We have to target Reflector Mage on the stack, so we might as well go for the Auriok Champion. And I'll make my opponent recast their Tatyova, and we can save our Cavalier of Dawn for something else potentially. Draw into Solemn Simulacrum. And a Karmic Guide off of the Wall of Omens. I think we can just get rid of the tap land at this point. We do have an unlimited hand size thanks to our Reliquary Tower. Supreme Verdict, that can't be countered. We can save our commander here though. Is it our commander we want to save? I mean, we've got Karmic Guide, that's indestructible. So yeah, we just go to Teferi's Time Twist here. Might as well tap down the Monolith because our commander is going to come back into play and flicker some stuff. So wiping out our Wall of Omens and the Reflector Mage, we'll get both of those back next turn if we go for Karmic Guide, because we'll get 2 triggers with the Panharmonicon. And then I think we might go for Mystic Sanctuary next turn to get the Teferi's Time Twist back. Quite like having that in play. We'll flicker that and I think that's all we really need to do. Actually, why don't we take these out of play as well, so that our opponent can't point removal at them. I'll be greedy and keep the Smothering Tithe. Badung going for a crack on the Evolving Wilds to draw themselves a card with Nissa. Then a mutate after the Solemn Simulacrum. That is whenever it mutates, destroy a target artifact or enchantment. Apparently we should have flickered the Smothering Tithe. I did say it was greedy. So we do lose our Smothering Tithe here finally. There we are, so taking the Smothering Tithe down, and they'll be able to do that consistently with the more mutates they have. Anyway, we get a bunch of stuff back, get more cards with the Trial of Knowledge, and now, if we really want to make our opponents dislike us, Glenelendra Archmage. I don't think we need Rogue's Passage. Yeah, let's get rid of the Rogue's Passage. Alright, a Lightning Greaves now. We'll go straight in for the Sol Ring. Then we'll tap down the Grim Monolith and the Sol Ring, and we'll go Solemn Simulacrum and start ramping every turn. Or every time we can flicker our Solemn at least. Get a couple of triggers with the Solemn Simulacrum, really starting to make use of the Panharmonicon now. Grab ourselves a couple of planes, I think. Then we can play Mystic Sanctuary and put the Teferi's Time Twist on top, ready to draw into. Then we've got Cloud Shift held up. Let's go for a Karmic Guide. That will grab us back 2 things, the Wall of Omens and the Reflector Mage, like we said before. Reflector Mage can only bounce the 1 thing, unfortunately giving them the mutate back, but we know they've got it at least, so we can hold up Flicker for it. Then a couple of draws again with Wall of Omens. Getting back into the Teferi's Time Twist, so we've got a couple of protection spells there. Do we care about Cavalier of Dawn at this point? I don't think we do particularly. I think I want to get down Glenelender Archmage. And just in case someone manages to wipe out all artifacts, I'm going to leave a few lands up so that we can still flicker stuff even if these go down. And then I'm going to go in for a Lightning Greaves as well, so I can take that Karmic Guide in at the Kiora and finally get rid of her. And then that can be us for this turn after we attack. Let's go in at Outlaw with these 2, because I'm worried about them slamming the Aetherflux Reservoir down and just taking us out immediately. And then Kiora gets taken down by the Karmic Guide. And then I think it's Lightning Greaves onto Glenelendra. And we will flicker with Thassa the Solemn Simulacrum, I think. Now that we've lost mana from the Smothering Tithe, we need to be making as many lands as we can. So let's flicker the Solemn. We could have flickered our commander and gotten a whole lot more value, but I think we're dragging out the game long enough at this point, so I'll just go for something easy with Solemn. Only 4 basics left in the deck, so we'll have to remember that. More card draw from a land with Nissa Vital Force's emblem. And that is Uyo Silent Prophet. Return 2 lands you control, copy an instant or sorcery. Okay, fair enough. Phyrexian Arena for Oloro is fine, I will allow that. It's board wipes that I'm thinking of at the moment. And I've actually just realised that thanks to Lightning Greaves, we won't be able to target Glenelendra for the flicker from our commander, so that's something to bear in mind from now on. Luckily, we've still got 1 counterspell on the Glenelendra. And now, since the Smothering Tithe has been dealt with, we'll see if Drone is actually going to use the Sylvan Library. Yeah, they use it this time. Go up to 10 cards. I don't know if they're going to keep them yet, though. They decide to put 4 life into it, so they keep 1 of the cards and put 1 back on top. And that is an Ashen Rider. We might have to make use of a flicker effect here. Exiling a target permanent. This is why I wanted to grab back the Teferi's Time Twist. And that is pointed at Panharmonicon, which I don't like the sound of. Do we flicker our Yorion and try and draw into a bunch of cards and draw the game to a close? Everything comes in at the end step, so it won't have Summoning Sickness on our turn. Yeah, I think we go for that. We could Teferi's Time Twist and flicker this, but I'd rather keep hold of it. So let's go for Cloud Shift onto our commander. And we'll flicker the Reflector Mage to bounce some stuff. Wall of Omens. The Karmic Guide I don't think will do anything, but we'll just flicker it anyway. Solemn, Grim Monolith, Trial of Knowledge, and the Panharmonicon. Might as well flicker the Sol Ring as well. Oh, and I think we actually can target the Glenelendra, can't we? Exile any number of other non-land permanents you own or control, so it's not target, so we do get through the Shroud there, so that's good to know. Obviously the Ashen Rider fizzles there because there's no Panharmonicon for it to target anymore. Then there is a High Market, which they can sacrifice their creature with to trigger it again if they want to. So I think that High Market might be worth a strip mine. And it's triggers galore. Now I'd actually like to try and destroy the Ashen Rider, or even exile it would be better. Although whatever we point at it, they can kill it in response. Might just be worth Reflector Mage. We'll go after this thing. And then we'll go after the Auriok Champion as well. Karmic Guide has nothing to bring back, so we just draw cards with Trial of Knowledge and Wall of Omens. I think we'll only have 2 basics left after this Solemn Simulacrum. And then in response, looks like they're going for the... Yep, they're sacrificing the Ashen Rider. They'll gain a life, but they will also get another trigger on their Ashen Rider. So forcing us to use our Teferi Time Twist. Yeah, I don't want to go for Yorion again because we'll end up with no creatures in play and I really want to move the game along a bit. So let's just use Teferi's Time Twist to flicker the Panharmonicon. We won't have it during our next turn, but at least we'll have it in play, hopefully. Still quite a few cards in everyone's hand, thanks to all the bouncing. So there we are, back round to our turn again. And trade routes being activated. They discard, is it discard a land? Yeah, discard a land to draw a card, so they got rid of a forest. Going up to 8 cards in hand. Discarding another forest to the trade routes. And that is everyone tapped out. Now there's an echo cost on Karmic Guide, which I think we're going to pay for. Karmic Guide is nice insurance against creatures being wiped out. And I think Muldrifter is definitely something we want to go for. But if we can continue to keep creatures in play like this, then we should be able to get the game moving along nicely. I think we definitely want Soul Herder as well. I think I'm going to flicker my commander at the end of the turn. So I think we'll concentrate on Basalt Monolith, because that is 3 free mana every turn. Then Recruiter of the Guard. And I think if we're worried about things like Cloud Shift and Teferi's Time Twist, then getting Archaeomancer into the deck would be good, but unfortunately we don't have it. Like I said, one of my first times playing the deck. We'll get out a Cloud Blazer, and then we'll have more mana once we flicker stuff, so I think that's okay to leave it like that. Oh, and actually I should have moved the Greaves over onto the Muldrifter so we can deal even more damage. Yeah, I forgot about that. It's only 2 damage though. We'll deal 10 damage to Outlaw to put them on 50. Actually, we'll just swing everything in at Outlaw. I want them on the least amount of life possible because of that Aetherflux Reservoir, like I said. Teferi's Time Twist brings in the Panharmonicon again. I stacked those wrong, didn't I? We should have stacked these first and then brought the Panharmonicon in last. Or first and put the Teferi's Time Twist on the stack last. Oh well. Soul Herder can flicker our commander. And Thassa can flicker the Muldrifter. Soul Herder over the next few turns is hopefully going to get really big. Might be that our opponents actually succeed in wiping the board at some point here, because I don't think we're going to have any means of flickering at instant speed. Hence the reason Archaeomancer would be really good in the deck. So we'll flicker pretty much everything, apart from the treasures, our commander, and the Glenelendra. Oh yeah, and of course the plus counters get removed from Soul Herder. I was just talking about how I want that to get really big and then go and flicker it. Probably should have left that in play. I'm just thinking as I learn to play the deck actually, Cavalier of Dawn being used a lot sooner would have been better, wouldn't it? We could have been destroying things and then bouncing the tokens with the Reflector Mage. Speaking of Reflector Mage, Tatyova is allowed to come back down now. Along with an Azusa, that's a lot of card draw, assuming they've got lands in hand. Yeah, I think the plan at the moment, maybe Cavalier of Dawn and Spine of Ishtar, maybe even Duplicant as well. We can actually start ridding ourselves of permanents instead of relying on the bounce for them. Yeah, I think I've dragged the game out much longer than I needed to, but like I said, I'm still playing. I'm still new to this deck. Amulet of Vigor will keep lands from coming in tapped. Get themselves into another couple of card draws per land that comes in on a Terramorphic Expanse. Yorion again triggers at the end of the turn. And it's a heap more triggers. I don't know if we have to point the Reflector Mage at our opponent's stuff actually. When it enters the battlefield, return a creature. Yeah, it's not a May ability. Yeah, unfortunately, we have to go for the bounce on here, so relying on the exile and the like is going to be difficult while Reflector Mage stays in play. So we're just going to drag the game out for even longer. Terramorphic Expanse being cracked in response. With Recruiter of the Guard, we will get ourselves into a Venser just for more backup on the whole counter front. Go for a Flicker Wisp as well. Then we're taking the last 2 basics out of the deck with Solemn. Just apologising to my opponents there because this game is well, who said it? Outlaw said that it's a lost cause, and yeah, definitely see that it. I can definitely see why it feels like that. I'm thinking it might be a bit of a lost cause myself. I don't think we're necessarily going to win though, especially not with some of the strange plays I've made. The Lands Matter player over here may well be able to break through with all the card draw, and then there's a couple of life gain decks in play. We can't land commander damage on our opponents very quickly with Yorion, so we may even deck ourselves if we're not careful. Alright, Karlov, now that's something. They just need the life gain to go with it. A Karmic Guide, that can bring back the Ashen Rider, which we obviously don't want. Yeah, so I say we go for the Venser in response to this, and we can bounce it back to our hand like I said. So we'll bounce the Karmic Guide back, they can't play that this turn. And then we'll bounce the Venser back to hand as well, just to play it safe. We'll be able to do that again this turn, unless they do something in response right here. Solemn Simulacrum coming out again. Yeah, not worried about that. Okay, so because we flickered the Karmic Guide, we need to pay the Echo cost again. Might not go for a flicker onto that, because if anyone's got spot removal, they're probably not pointing it at Karmic Guide. So we're not flickering Karmic Guide, we're not flickering the Soul Herder. And then we definitely want Duplicant. And with Duplicant we can get rid of Karlov, because that's going to be too good once they get the life gain going. And that's already getting some plus counters on the Soul Herder, ready for us to get a bit more damage on the go. We will get the Spine of Isar in as well. That can get rid of the Arena and the Sylvan Library. And then I think we have to rely on Deadeye Navigator as well. Oh, we also want the boots in, don't we? Let's get that down first. Then we'll go for Deadeye. I imagine we want to just target our Yorion, don't we, to keep everything in play. Then we'll just go for Swiftfoot Boots on the Soul Herder now. Yeah. Or do we just want... I think we'd rather protect Deadeye. Yeah, let's protect Deadeye Navigator. Used a bit too much mana up this turn, actually, and if we flicker our commander, we can't flicker it with the Deadeye Navigator, can we? Yeah, that was an oversight. So how much damage? That's 8, 10, 12, 14, 17, 18, 24, 29. Yeah, so I think we just go in at the lands player. Yeah, not holding up mana might be an issue here. Our opponents have a bit of a... yeah, they've got a bit of a chance here. Taking them down to 7. Yeah, at this point we just really want to keep our stuff in play. So the Soul Herder will flicker. What does it matter? Let's just go for the Muldrifter. My plan was flickering our commander at the end of the turn, but I went and tied the Deadeye Navigator to it. So we'll flicker the Wall of Omens and the Muldrifter and draw some more cards. We've only got 35 left in the deck. Okay, we draw ourselves into Eerie Interlude, which, yeah, we could have made use of that had I flickered my commander, like I said, but at least we're giving our opponents the chance to come back here, thanks to one of my many mistakes in this game. Soul Herder jumps up to a 5/5. And there we go, we do have means of stealing some of our opponent's stuff, so we might have to strip mine the Homeward Path if we go in for Agent of Treachery. Seismic Assault. Discard a land and it deals 2 damage to any target. Yeah, we just have to be willing to lose some creatures here at this point, I think. 2 damage to... oh, see, so our opponents are worried about the Karmic Guide. I'm surprised about that, going straight in for that. So we will let that go down. They're most likely trying to bait us anyway. Then they go for damage onto the Duplicant as well. Yeah, I mean, I'd like to keep Duplicant, but I can't say I'm going to worry about it all that much at this point. Losing the Duplicant, I don't think he's going to lose us the game. Yeah, our opponent does still have it, the Auriok Champion. Karmic Guide now. And I think we just have to let Karmic Guide come down, allow the Ashen Rider to come down and let them exile a couple of things, because we can take out a player next turn, and if we allow someone to like wipe the board or something like that because we go for the Yorion flicker, then it's just going to set us back further than I would like. I'm only going to flicker if someone's actually got something to do to us that's really going to hurt, you know, like a board wipe or something. And Ashen Rider is going on to that Panharmonicon, so we'll say goodbye to Panharmonicon finally. And then don't forget they can sacrifice the Ashen Rider to the high market in order to sacrifice or in order to exile something else. Now a Whip of Erebos. They can't reanimate anything, but they do have the high market held up still. Like I said, I'm not going to go for the flicker until it's absolutely necessary. I think we were greedy last turn, going in for the Spine of Ishsar. And now we can't flicker with Yorion and have permanence in next turn because it triggers at the end step. So if they do something to us at the end step, which it looks as though they are, okay, a Harrow to draw some more cards. They'll draw 2 here, thanks to their emblem. Alright, going for Seismic Assault onto our Muldrifter now. Not going to worry about losing Muldrifter. We've only got 29 cards left in the library. I don't know if we can bring back our Karmic Guide, actually. That might be something else to consider, building into the deck. Solemn Simulacrum will draw us a card when it dies. We don't have any basics left, so we don't care about that either. We draw ourselves into a Flicker spell, which is actually pretty good to have in hand. Very good to have in hand, actually. And there we go, we managed to untap, so that is probably the game, if it wasn't already. Because now we can flicker Yorion pretty much indefinitely. Draw ourselves into a replacement for the duplicant Phyrexian Ingester. And with that we will exile the Karmic Guide. And we can point the Phyrexian Ingester at this thing next turn. When we decide to flicker everything. So let's just go in for the attacks for the turn. I'm going to continue to take commander damage in at Oloro. And then it's 6 at Bugden, 7, 8 at Bugden, 10 over there. I don't know if they've, yeah, we'll take the Soul Herder in at them as well. I don't know if they've got means of removal and flash creatures and stuff like that. And then we will just leave the attacks at that. Yeah, I thought they might have something for us. Wonder if they can survive this turn. 4 cards in hand. They're bouncing a land, probably to discard it. Oh, and I'm just thinking actually, was I misremembering how Soul Bond works before? I think maybe we could have flickered our Yorion, couldn't we? And then it comes back into play and we can still pair it with the Deadeye. I might have been misremembering there, I don't know. Brain's a little bit fried from the games I've played today. 2 damage to any target, that's going on to the Soul Herder, so they've obviously got some lands. Oh, they bounced some to hand, didn't they? Yeah, we'll just let them take down the Soul Herder. I'm hoping that the Indestructible Thassa and the Glenelendra is going to be enough to take them out. I'm actually going to go in for a momentary blink onto that, because I would like to keep it in play. And we can still flash that back. We've also still got Eerie Interlude, not to mention the flicker from Deadeye. Oh, they've got another land after that, so that goes down anyway. Wow, they've got a lot of lands in hand. A lot to discard to that. So anyway, momentary blink does fizzle. We did force them to discard another one though, at least. So that might be of some relevance. Okay, continuing to discard trade routes. Bouncing even more lands. Turns out trade routes along with Seismic Assault is pretty damn good, doesn't it? And now going for the damage onto the bounce creature. And then another one onto Reflector Mage, so that's that down. But like I said, we've got Shroud on this and on the Indestructible Thassa, so they still go down here, I think. And now getting rid of Recruiter of the Guard as well. They can just shock something in response to us flickering Yorion, so I'll just leave it be for now. And now, in response, Drone of War is sacrificing, most likely, their Ashen Rider. They might be trying to get rid of the Thassa. Yeah, so maybe the... yeah, they're keeping... Ugh, that's rough. Yeah, should have gone after the Ashen Rider sooner, apparently. If we're not going to take a player out anyway, I think we might as well just go for the flicker on Yorion. And then if they discarded their homeward path, they have not, so we need to... yeah, we still need to be wary of that. Definitely Soulbond, the Yorion and the Deadeye again, and then Yorion will enter and it will flicker the Thassa, which is about to be exiled. We'll do Wall of Omens, the Phyrexian Ingester, Trial, the rocks. Haven't gotten into any coloured rocks this game, unfortunately. And the Spine of Ishtar as well. We're most likely going to time out this game, which looks like it's our opponent's tactic. So, managing to save the Lands Matter player, that was well done by Drone of War. I thought they'd let a player go down, to be honest, but deciding to band together against a common enemy. So, let's see. Let's just go in for some more life gain and card draw. And then I think I'll actually hold up mana this time, unlike last turn. 2 damage from the Seismic Assault. They go for the Homeward Path being discarded, so that tempts me, if we can afford it, into the Agent of Treachery. Ugh, our opponents are doing a good job. We'll have to just get down the Spine of Ishtar at the end of this turn and blow up the Seismic Assault with that. Now Phyrexian Ingester finally gets rid of the Auriok Champion. Yeah, the game's starting to lag now. I'm losing about 5 seconds between passing each bit of priority. The problem is I could just F6 through the turns, but then I don't get a chance to flicker in response to things and respond with, well, different actions and stuff. So, yeah, we're just going to have to make do with the fact that we're losing time thanks to the client lagging. Sensei's top from our opponent. Let's see if they've got an answer in the top 3. Well, they've got something they like because they're going for a card draw. And it is Swords to Plowshares on that thing. Why don't we just flicker with Yorion at this point? And then it looks like the Lands player still has something to do. They were tapping in response to the Soulbond trigger there. We can't flicker with Deadeye until the Soulbond is resolved. But deciding to let it go, maybe they can't do something after all. So Yorion comes in. Alright, and then a copy of the Swords to Plowshares. So going back onto the going back onto the Swords to Plowshares. So we just flicker again. And this time we'll flicker Wall of Omens and the Phyrexian Ingester. We'll untap our Sol Ring and go for the Spine of Ishtar again as well. I'm not going to go for the Trowel because it's just even more card draw and more stuff to click through. But we've lost this one anyway, I think, due to the time. Yeah, we're definitely losing about 5 seconds between each passing of priority. I just went from 51 seconds down to 46 when I pressed it immediately. We'll get rid of the trade routes with the Spine of Ishtar and exile the Solemn with the Ingester. It's noteworthy as well that if we have a coloured permanent, a coloured mana rock in play, like a Signet or something, then we could go infinite. By flickering with the Deadeye Navigator, our commander, that would flicker the Spine of Ishtar and we could blow up all the lands if we wanted to. I wouldn't go for that because 1, it'd take too long, and 2, we're not really going for mass land destruction in our games, but it's something to be wary of if that's something that any of you want to play. For Lukranos the Unchained, and they do have mana held up for the fight, and it does have lifelink as well. We'll go for the Restoration Angel onto the Phyrexian Ingester, and then that encourages the 4-colour player to do something in response. They are going for Comet Storm. That is X damage to each of them. That's just 4 damage to the Resto Angel. We'll go for Momentary Blink on there. And then there's even more responses. This has been one hell of an interactive game. I know I have dragged the game out for the longest amongst all of us, but it's thanks to all the interaction that the game's lasted so long, I think. Nothing wrong with that, by the way. I'm just yeah, just pointing out that all the interaction has really made it difficult for us. But interaction is definitely the way to not lose a game. Now, Polukranos is going to fight the Restoration Angel. We'll just let it go. I don't care that much about it. We'll see if we can take anyone out before the end of the turn. And then Restoration Angel, the initial trigger actually still goes off, so we still get to get rid of Polukranos. They sacrifice it in response and mill themselves. Yeah, we're losing a hell of a lot of time between triggers here. Let's just go in for the Agent of Treachery and then swing him. Just taking the Amulet of Vigor for the hell of it, and then we will go for a Lightning Greaves over onto this thing. And then let's see if we can get rid of Bugden. And then I don't think we've really attacked Drone of War this game, so we'll aim the rest in at them. And there we are, finally. Well, we managed to take out one player at least. That was a hell of a Lands Matter deck that our opponent brought. I don't know what we're going to flicker. Doesn't matter, let's just go for Wall of Omens. And we've timed out now anyway. That 20 seconds just depleted in no time flat. So that is us out of the game as well. Yeah, just thanking my opponents there. Apparently we've been playing for around 2 hours. And the vast majority of that play was myself. Also told them I won't be playing this deck again anytime soon if it's going to do that. This is only the... I think it's the second time I've played it. So it's never gone off like that before. None of the Flicker decks that I've built have ever done that. We just managed to keep all of our permanents in play and there was nothing anyone could do about it. Anyway, a Sanguine Bond from the Esper player. And then from Drone of War, finally, comes back in the insatiable Hemophage again. And Drone, eventually being able to actually make use of the Mutate. So now, grabbing themselves a Polukranos off of their commander. But Oloro has Swords to Plowshares, and that's the problem with Mutate. Is it's kind of like a Voltron style aura type thing where you just lose everything to a single mana removal spell. But sacrificing it in response for Altar of Dementia will get them into some more mill. And they've got Viscerous Seer, they've got Migratory Greathorn, I think that's the one that gets you into a basic land. But in response to that, they still get their Ashen Rider and their Polukranos back. Polukranos... Oh, is Polukranos a 0/0? It enters with 6+ counters on it. That's a really interesting method with the Nethroi. So you can always get your Polukranos back for free, basically. Yeah, that's really a really interesting play by Drone of War. So they end up with the Ashen Rider, which we probably should have exiled a long time ago. But they always had this in response to exile it anyway, so we couldn't have done. Could have strip mined that, but I was worried about the homeward path. Rhystic Study from Oloro, followed by Leyline of Anticipation. I think we should include that, or at least the Orrery, in our deck as well. Because it would have been really good alongside that Smothering Tithe. Being able to do things at instant speed is way more powerful. Then the Ashen Rider and the Polukranos go after Outlaw, who is at a high 58 life. So this bout might be going on for quite a while yet. And it's Auspicious Starix now. Oh, that's the one that flips permanents off the top, and you can choose one of them. Throwing that onto their Polukranos. And get themselves into a Seedborn Muse. If they could get the Vidalcan Orrery out of the graveyard, then they've got themselves a Prophet of Kruphix. And of course they've got another Mutate creature, so they can get themselves into, yeah, some more permanents potentially. And do they get rid of the Rhystic Study or the Leyline? It's the Rhystic Study they are blowing up. And they've put this thing onto the Seedborn Muse, by the way. That is over the top of the Seedborn Muse. Chromatic Lantern from Outlaw. Then looking at the top 3 cards with Sensei's top. Now going over to the Abzan player, and a Shadow Spear has come down. They've already got lifelinks, so that'll just be +1/+1 and trample. Then taking themselves straight into attacks. They have 11 and 16 points of damage. This is lifelink damage thanks to the whip. And now going in for another morph creature, that is Necropanther. I don't know that one. That's a counter spell onto there. Whenever this creature mutates, return a target creature with CMC 3 or less from graveyard to battlefield. Don't know if they've got anything. Can't keep the graveyard open. A Void Winnower. Well, that's one way to turn someone's deck off, or at least half of it. Your opponents can't block with creatures with even converted mana costs, and they can't cast spells with even converted mana costs either. Sacrificing their Ashen Rider and getting rid of that thing immediately. And they'll mill themselves some more cards because they did it with the Altar of Dementia. So it looks like Drone of War might pull out a victory here, but you never write off an Oloro player. And then Outlaw decides to scoop it up. He's had enough. Doesn't fancy his odds of drawing into anything. Bear in mind he knows what's in the top cards of Sensei's Divining Top. Yeah, it's fair enough. Maybe he could have pulled something out of the bag, but it probably would have meant just dragging the game out an incredible amount of time, like I have already done, and taking it to like a 3 to 4 hour game. So it's a good game to my opponents. Apologies to them for it being a solitaire game, but like I said, I haven't really run the deck properly yet, and I had no idea that it could do all that, so I will save Yorion for special occasions in which we've got some more time to play games. Anyway, hopefully you all enjoyed it anyway, and hopefully this gave you some ideas for your Yorion deck. You can leave some suggestions for this one in the comments, although I've already thought of some ideas myself to make edits to the deck with. Anyway, hopefully you all enjoyed it. Like I said, I'm tribalkai on the EDH channel. Thank you for watching.